Hello, I'm Nic Newman. I've spent much of my career working on the intersection of technology and journalism at the BBC, and then for the last 10 years or so at the Reuters Institute for the study of journalism. And as part of that, I do a trends and predictions report every year, and have witnessed, this remarkable growth of artificial intelligence from the R&D lab to being right at the core of people's business, and then with the arrival of ChatGPT on the tip of everyone's tongue. It's the thing everyone wants to talk about. But before ChatGPT, this was how publishers that we talked to were mainly using artificial intelligence. This is from a survey we do every year with 200, 300 industry leaders. And you can see how automated recommendations such as homepages and also commercial uses, so identifying customers that might subscribe to publication, these were the main uses. And generating articles, so sort of robo-journalism, sort of right down the bottom. But of course, all of that has changed. And one of the things I've been asked to do in this very short video is to talk a little bit about the best of generative AI and the worst of generative AI, but also what might be coming next and some tips for news editors. So in terms of the worst, I mean, here are just a few examples of some of the things not to do. So putting stuff out without thinking. This was a magazine interview, apparently the first interview with Michael Schumacher, the Formula One driver who'd been in a induced coma since 2013. But when you opened up the magazine, it turns out it was an AI-generated interview. So not clear labeling, inappropriate, difficult for the family. Magazine editor got sacked. CNET famously started doing a lot of Q&A articles to try and get search engine optimization and traffic, but unfortunately they didn't label them very well, and there were a number of mistakes in some of those articles. And other organizations and publishers are also trying to use AI to create traffic effectively, in this case quizzes and travel articles, but the quality has been extremely widely criticized as being cliched and not really adding value in terms of content. So just creating more noise and not enough value. So these are some of the dangers. I think second danger is obviously the sort of pollution of our information ecosystem. And there are, humorous examples like the Pope and the Puffer jacket, which this rendition via Midjourney genuinely fooled people, but also much more worrying, the use of generative images in campaign videos in the US elections. So Ron DeSantis' official campaign video mixing real images with AI generated pictures, and that danger that we're going to see a lot more of this sort of thing, politicians blurring the line between what is true and what is false. So a lot to be worried about. I think in terms of the potential, though, and the opportunities, they're obviously also considerable to improve what we do, improve the relevance of what we do. This is the BBC experimenting with summarization, which I think is where a lot of the activity is right now. So taking articles and then creating short versions of them, which are then checked by editors very quickly. And the idea is that really just helps people who want to get a quick take on a story, but at very low editorial cost. This is an app called the Newsroom, which takes the same idea of summarization, but it's summarizing thousands of articles to produce a definitive summary of all of those articles, including showing differences in the treatment of stories, generating automatic timelines. Really interesting use of artificial intelligence, very responsibly done with good labeling. And I think it really shows some of the potential uses. We're going to see a lot of AI-driven apps, I think, going forwards. Not just text, of course, it's also images. This is one that the Reuters Institute ourselves, we used in our trends and predictions to produce a really striking cover, which did really well for us on Twitter. And we learned a lot about prompts in the process. And this is one I really like from Semaphore, who had a series of interviews with people who'd been victims of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And then they tied that together with an artist who created a style and then illustrated the video, as you can see here, with images that they wouldn't have been able to do before. They did really nice labeling of this, very much an experiment. And I think it sort of illustrates how some of the potential of artificial intelligence to fill in some of those gaps, but obviously also some of the pitfalls. In terms of looking ahead, I've really just identified two key challenges and two opportunities. So I've already mentioned the pollution of the information ecosystem. I do think that we are going to see a deepening crisis of trust, and that the flood of content and the difficulty of knowing what is true and what is not true is just going to make what is already a difficult situation worse. Secondly, I think there's an existential crisis, which some CEOs are talking about, to the business model. We've already seen traffic falling from traditional social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, and moving to AI-driven video systems like TikTok that try and keep users within those environments so don't drive traffic. And now we're going to see disruption to search, where search itself is going to have AI integrations to try and produce the answer without necessarily having all those links sending traffic to publisher websites. So that's a real challenge, I think, over the next few years. But on the positive side, you have opportunities to create more efficient workflows, to free up resource so that it can be focused on doing better journalism or more distinctive journalism. And secondly, I think this problem that we see in our research about people saying the news is too hard to understand or the tone isn't right, this is particularly with younger people. I think AI offers the opportunity to create more formats automatically. That could be visual formats. It could be taking text articles and turn them into audio, or changing the tone of voice, bullet points. And I think that could really help with this relevance challenge and reaching different audiences in more personalized ways. And then finally, I've been asked to offer some advice to news editors, which I think is extremely difficult given the pace of change. But I think it's really about embracing those opportunities and also mitigating the risks. I also think we have some time to work it out, despite the hype. I think, it's not going to happen overnight. And we really do need to think about seriously and deeply about how we want to respond. And I think that's partly about being really clear about, with staff and with audiences, about how we're using artificial intelligence, why we're using artificial intelligence, and emphasizing the element of control and checking, because ultimately, I think the issue of trust is only going to get more important. I think, secondly, don't start with the technology and see where it goes. Start with the problems you're trying to solve and your own mission and vision about what you want to do as a news organization, and then work out how the technology can help you solve those problems. And then I think if you do think it's going to be useful, make sure you've got the skills and really invest in those skills to understand how artificial intelligence works and how it's changing. So doing a lot of testing and prototyping, I think, will really help with that, which I know is what a lot of you have been doing at this conference. And then the final thing is, it's not just what you do in the newsroom, it's also that disruption to the wider ecosystem to watch out for. And I think that media companies really need to work on some of those issues now, possibly together, because they are coming at you like an express train. So hopefully that was useful. I hope you've had really good discussions, and very sorry that I can't be with you.